Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and once again you have found the most definitive program in all things Star Wars, the Old Republic related. That's right, I'm your host, Crasus, here at the Cult of Crasus on the You vs. Me YouTube network. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, today is the day that we have finally got our comeuppance. That's right. Please go to your nearest grocery store, pick up your latest edition of the National Enquirer magazine. That's right, the National Enquirer magazine. A national publication that brought you such stories as Brad Pitt's bizarre double life and exposed pervy President Barack Obama's secret cyber gal. On today's edition of the National Enquirer, on page 27, right here you will find a poll that is conducted in Burnsville, Pennsylvania, where 98% of the population gave a thumbs up to the Cult of Crasus and the You vs. Me YouTube network. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you, every single citizen of Burnsville, Pennsylvania, for being available for this poll to come out and telling everyone in the country how you feel about your favorite YouTube channel. Welcome back, everybody. This is Crasus from the Cult of Crasus and the You vs. Me YouTube network, coming at you with a new series that I would like to do at an occasional basis, only when it really needs to be done. I like to call this Fixing the Galaxy. This particular episode, which is the first episode, I'm going to talk about operations, about in-game content. We all know, of course, by my previous post that, Zor's left. They were unhappy with in-game content. There are a lot of people who are unhappy with in-game content and content cycles overall. And so I'm going to fix it. Today, me, by myself, in my computer chair. My dog is looking at me, lots of pressure. Fixing the galaxy. This is how we're going to do it, okay? So I'm going to fix some ops today. Look, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this bullshit where they come out and they have 2 ops that are dropped at the same time that have 5 bosses. Like, it's like that all the time. It doesn't need to be like that. We're going to do away with that, okay? Instead of that, we're going to drop 1 raid, okay? And it's going to have 7 to 9 bosses. That's what we want to do. I know you're going to be like, well, that's going to make operations longer, just like Scum and Villainy, and no one's going to want to do them. Well, when it's the only current option that you have, you're going to do it, and you're going to be happier because now you can split 1 op between your 2 to 3 to 5 days, however many days you're raiding. So you're already doing 2 in a week anyway. I mean, most guilds split time between both ops. Now you're just going to have 1. Now, let's say if you go with the 7 boss operation. Here's the other thing too. Let's say if you have, before I get to that, if you have a story arc, like for instance, the story arc with the Dreadmasters, it needed the 2 similar operations, okay? The tile set was similar, the motif was similar. That's fine. I mean, that could just be an expansion of the story anyway, okay? You could have dropped Dread Palace and then waited 3 or 4 months and dropped Dread Fortress if you do it the way that I do it. People are going to just keep up with the story and really desire it more, in my opinion. But anyway, this is how it's going to work. So let's say if you have 7 bosses. What you're going to do is you're actually just going to focus on mainly your set pieces, your set armorings. The last boss will drop, the main hand, and the boss before that can drop the chest, and the boss before that can drop the offhand, and then you can double up. Maybe the last boss drops the main hand and the bracers, or something of that nature. So you can actually double up some of the loot, because we're not going to actually put relics or implants or earpieces in that, because considering that this is my inaugural episode of Fixing the Galaxy, I'm not just going to fix operations, I'm going to fix crafting as well. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, stop the presses, shit the bed, Fred. Crasus is going to fix every damn thing today. this is what we can do for Professions. Look, Professions has stalled. Okay, there was a time when everyone was a biochem because there's a reason for being a biochem. You're going to be using reusable stems and adrenals. All right, we did away with that, and that should actually do. It was actually pretty good. Okay, because everyone was a biochem, no one was buying biochem stuff. You just use the reusables, and it kind of stagnates the economy a little bit. Now you have a little bit more money changing hands, and the idea was more people would be buying materials and stuff like that, which it didn't really turn out that way, but that's okay. We're going to fix it. It's going to be fine. So this is how we're going to do it. If you're a cyber tech, when an expansion drops from the trainer, okay, you can learn the green version, and then the blue version when you reverse engineer it, and then the purple version. Well, that purple version, when an expansion drops, is going to be the best in slot. There you go. You can make, as a cyber tech, the best in slot earpiece. As a biochem, the best in slot implant. As an artificer, the best in slot relic. You're going to make them. They're not going to drop. They're not going to drop in the operation itself. You're going to make them. There you go. So now, all of a sudden, we have a market for people to buy implants that people are crafting and not have them replaced during the first week of rating. So that's going to be fantastic. Now, while we're fixing Professions, you're going to say, hey, Crasus, of the cult of Crasus, what about, I don't know, what about Armstech? What are they going to do? Well, they already do stuff, okay? Look, you're going to have your Synthweaver, your Armor Mech, your Armstech. They're going to continue to make the enhancements. I'm sorry, not the enhancements, the augments. I apologize. They're going to be able to make the augments that they make because those continue to sell all the time. BioWare needs to continue to put a premium on your main stat. And if you want, you can actually spread it out a little bit, okay? Where maybe the Armstech makes the cunning and the Armor Mech makes the aim, and so on and so forth. Okay? And then, of course, those Professions can also only make the MK10s. Which would now be like the MK11s or what have you. Because those things will continue to sell throughout the expansion without you having to really increase. If you go today and you want to make money right now I can tell you right now, on 3 servers, on the Harbinger, on Shadowlands, and on the Ebon Hawk, if you go right now and you set yourself up with a slicer who can occasionally get the crafting mat, the purple crafting mat, and you actually set up with maybe some trading partners and buy things off of the GTN, you can make those main stat augments right now and sell them at a profit, at a continued profit that doesn't stop. Okay, it doesn't stop. It really truly doesn't. You can make about 50 to 70,000 credits as a profit creating the augments and selling them on the GTN. Now, how do I come to that number? Everyone that, let's say if you just buy the stuff off the GTN, right? You're probably going to make about 40,000. So you craft it, you're going to make about 40,000, right? Well, sometimes you're going to crit, so that you're going to make an 80,000 profit off of that. Okay, also you're going to augment yourself by sending your crafters out, your slicer. So sometimes you're able to make those and possibly crit without having to buy anything off the GTN. So now you're only paying for 5,000 for 3 of the purple crafting mat. And so that's where I come up with an estimated magic number of, on average, you're going to make about 70,000 for every augment you sell. You're going to be able to sell probably 2 to 5 a day if you really push it, and make that profit. There's profit to be made. They sell. They do. Okay? Don't get me wrong. There's going to be an asshole who's going to tank things on the market, and there's nothing you can do about that. But however, if you do this, they will sell. Now, you have your top of the line implants and earpieces that are going to also sell. Okay? People are just going to buy them once and then not buy them again for a while. So you're going to make a lot of profit, and then it's going to slow down to nothing. And then that's when it gets good, because, let me get back to it. You're going to have 7 to 9 bosses. We're going to just say you're going to have 7 right now. What you're going to do is you're going to have the developers who normally work on 2 at the same time and then drop both of them. They drop 1. They're still working at 2 at the same time. They drop 1. 3 to 4 months later, they drop the next one. When they drop the next one, it's a new tier of gear. When the new tier of gear comes out, you're going to be able to have those biochems who want to make implants, and those artificers who want to make relics, and cybertechs who want to make earpieces, be able to spend possibly money and comms, would probably be best, to learn new purple schematics. So when expansion first comes out, just like normal, they get the green, they get a blue, they get a purple. Right? They sell those. That goes out through the first tier. When the second operation drops, you're going to have a vendor who will now sell updated schematics that are just purple, but they're going to cost you comms and cash. Okay? And so what's going to happen is you're going to be able to make those. You make those, you're going to be able to make your money. Now, eventually, once again, that's going to tank down, and then 3 or 4 months later, a new operation will come out. Now, I am a man who enjoys value. Crasus really likes value. So let me go ahead and tell you what I'm going to do right now. Oh my God, you're so lucky. I'm going to fix flashpoints. I know. It's like Christmas, right? I'm doing all this shit. Like, it's just fantastic. So this is what's going to happen. At the outset of an expansion, you're going to have 2 sets of gear. And the gear is actually going to have the set bonus to it. One will be better than the other. Just like in vanilla, the flashpoints, the last bosses, are going to drop a token. But instead of just like a token for a headpiece, it's a sorcerer, not a sorcerer, excuse me, an inquisitor token for a headpiece off of this flashpoint. That's a hard mode. It's got to be the hard mode version, okay? Or, this next one. Oh, this is going to drop the chest that has a set bonus to it. And like I said, it's not just a chest. It's going to be, say it's going to take your group composition. Oh, there's an Inquisitor. So it's a possibility to drop the Inquisitor chest or the Bounty Hunter chest. And then you're going to be able to turn that in to get a set piece from the first tier of gear. This is going to keep people playing and doing flashpoints. And maybe because they're actually important and people are going to do them, BioWare will make good flashpoints. Just like they did when the game first came out. Flashpoints were fantastic. They were great. They were interesting. I can't think of one that was just terrible. With the exception of HK47 and the Foundry Hard mode that has never worked and is never going to work, everything was fantastic. Doing a flashpoint crawl for a new character was like a rite of passage. And that can continue if you do this that way. So if you do story mode operations or you do flashpoint hard modes, you're going to get set gear, the first tier. Then if you do the hard mode ops only, it will drop your main hands and then the second tier of gear. 3 to 4 months down the road, you can have another 7 to 9 boss operation drop. When that happens, what you're going to do is you're going to introduce another tier of gear. But for the first time, you're going to keep all your Flashpoint gear and everything else the same. Okay. Now, as the third operation in an expansion drops, then you can actually get into the conversation about possibly upping the gear from the Flashpoints and the gear from the initial story mode ops, because that's going to happen. You're going to have story mode. Your second operation is going to have a story mode version to it, and let that story mode version of the second operation drop the hard mode gear from the first operation. Therefore, your operations are going to continue in sequence. After a while, you can up the Flashpoints. Hopefully you would create new Flashpoints that would drop set gear of a higher quality, but are harder and interesting. Much like Lost Island. Okay? You can even package things up for a weekly if you want. Okay? So if you have a new one coming out, right? It's going to drop a set gear. And then you're going to be able to package it with an old one. You finish those two, you could possibly get a set piece from a story, the current story mode ops. It gives you some flexibility and creativity to do stuff, to basically make sure that you keep your two fingers on the pulse of your community, and then you're able to change. And you don't have to change every week, you don't change every day, but you can change every 3 months to keep it fresh. And you can continue on, ultimately having, with this formula, having 4 operations a year. That's going to keep the PvE people off your back. Look, I mean, there's a lot of other things that you can do. We're going to eventually get into it. Like, hey, just start focusing on Galactic Fighter, PvP, and, operations of Flashpoints. And screw all this other stuff for the most part. We're going to talk about that sometime down the road. But listen, okay? One of the things that many people have said is BioWare went back to story because it's what they do best. And it's true, okay? They have put out Mass Effect. They have put out Knights of the Old Republic. They put out Jade Empire, okay? They have put out some very strong story-driven games. People have said that this is now a single-player RPG with MMO elements. BioWare, do not fool yourself to think that Star Wars The Old Republic is half as good as most of the single-player good AAA games that are out there when it comes to story. Because let me tell you something. More people are going to buy Assassin's Creed to play through that story and pay $60 for it this year than are going to come back and be new customers to Star Wars The Old Republic. It is good for an MMO. Your story is really good for an MMO. But it is not good in comparison to the stuff that you've already put out. It's not good as Mass Effect. It's not as good as when you actually are going to develop the world around one character and have so much control over everything. Okay? It's good because it works with a chaotic system. Okay? It's probably the best because of that. But that is like the fastest person with Down syndrome. Okay? Hey, it's great in comparison to people in its class. Okay? It's got a better story in my opinion, or at least it presents the story better than World of Warcraft and other MMOs. But as a standalone game, no, don't even think about it. Not even close. You're not even holding Fable's Jockstrap 1, 2, or 3. Don't give me that shit. Okay? If you have players who think that your story is as good as single player story driven games, then they need to pick up some fucking books. Okay? They need to get their head off the TV. They need to pick up some books and really understand what a damn story is. I think, like I said, for an MMO it's good. But it's still going to be an MMO. And compared to the single player world, it ain't shit. Okay? So hey, you know, you've done a fair job of incorporating your story into your operations. That's your bread and butter. Not going back to just story. The incorporation of it all is what you have done with Star Wars The Old Republic, where the story is good enough in comparison to other MMOs to make it shine. Now, let's go ahead and polish off the operations a little bit. Polish off how you do things and make that good. Incorporate the stories with that. So hey, heaven forbid you get some people who just like the story and our peers to actually do the operations. You've done it before. I seriously think that because like what you did with the Dreadmasters and incorporating the stories into the operations, stroke of genius. I think more our peers and more players wanted to do the operation to really be part of the story than ever before. That's what you did. Quit sending us on random shit like the Ravagers and Rishi. Make it matter. Make it count. That's what you've done. You've made us matter. Keep doing that. Alright? And so, you know, like I said, you know, it's going to give you some flexibility. As things start to get stale, you can, you know, put out new flashpoints, flashpoint rewards. Hey, you can always throw in the random one boss operation. I think those are cool for certain things, for special items. Don't go crazy with it. You probably don't want to put main hands with it. But, you know, hey, let's say that's you come out with a 7 boss operation. All of them are going to drop just one piece of gear. And hey, if you need those boots, guess you got to go do this one boss operation and farm it too. I mean, hey, that's why we did the Nightmare Pilgrim. You want Ricotta boots? You better get your ass down there. And so, I mean, that's how it works. All right, and those things are great. Okay. Also, you can bring, like I said before, you can bring Nightmare in. You get slightly better tier gear. Maybe you give it like when you're doing Nightmare, the mods and enhancements are already min-maxed. You know, kind of keep it an easier path so you don't have to farm the piss out of it the whole time. Or like you did before, give it some distinct gear that has, you know, some type of flourish quality to it. So, I mean, those are things that you can do. It's time to do that. In this episode, I have fixed operations. I've told you how to make it happen. Okay? You can do this to make the players happy. It makes flashpoints relevant, it makes crafting relevant, and it makes operations relevant. Okay? Hey, you're already dropping, you know, and you can sprinkle in, obviously, your decorations, you know, for your strongholds and all the other stuff too. Okay? So there you go. Boom. You're welcome. I fixed it. All you got to do is do this. Okay? I hope you're listening. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. If you have any comments, concerns, please comment below. If you have any interest in or a subject matter in videos that you would like for me to make, also please comment below. Make sure that you subscribe to You Versus Me. We have a ton of new things that are coming down the line. We talk about movies, video games, a little bit of everything. I hope you enjoy it. And until the next time I put out a video, I'll see you out there in the game.